Hey everyone, I realized as I was editing this that I never filmed a proper intro to this video. So welcome to my bookshelf reorganization. In this video I'm going to reorganize my bookshelves obviously, but I also have a book haul for you, and I'm going to also talk about my mid-year book tag, even though it is a little bit late, but whatever. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video, and I'm going to do the book haul first, and then we will get into organizing my bookshelves. Hello everyone, and welcome to the book haul portion of this video. So I have a very thick stack of books right here, and these are actually all from the thrift store. I have not bought any of these new, which is a win for me because books are like $8 billion. I don't know why I put them up there, but whatever. So let's start with the oldest book. I got this probably 2 months ago, but this is Jade City by Fonda Lee. I've heard a lot about this. Apparently it is a kind of really epic fantasy, which is good. I like epic fantasy, and it was $3. I don't know if you could see that, but it was $3 at my local thrift store for this little chunky thing. And I'll put the new cost right there because, you know, it's a lot usually. I'm trying to do this by oldest, so I'm gonna have to take these off the stack. Those are for later. Okay, so then I got these three at the same thrift store I got most of my clothes from my clothing haul from. It's a very interesting thrift store. They have a lot of things. So first I'll do the hardcover. I got Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I've read Normal People and I gave it, I think, 3.75 or 4 stars. I don't really remember exactly, but I did enjoy it. I know it's a bit of a controversial book because some people liked it and some people really didn't like it. But most people agree that this one's better than Normal People, so hopefully I will like this one. I read the synopsis and I thought it sounded interesting, so there you go. And then I got this book. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to say it, but it is by Frederick Backman, and I haven't read any of his books, but this is, I think, a good starting point, and I've heard a lot about this book, so hopefully I enjoy this one as well. It sounds interesting, so yeah. And lastly, from that thrift store, I got Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. And I haven't heard about this book ever. I literally haven't heard of this book or this author. But it sounds really interesting. When I picked it up and I read like the back of it, it sounded very interesting. And I think I'm going to like it. I mean, I don't really read romance too often, but you know, maybe I'm being converted. I have read quite a few romance books recently. Okay, so these three are next, and I got 2 classics. Woo. So these are from a different thrift store in my area. So here I have Dracula by Bram Stoker, and this is, I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard of Dracula. It's a classic. It's about vampires. Obviously, that's what Dracula is. And I'm not really 100% sure I'm going to enjoy this, but it was only $3, so why not? And it does have that like indigo weird classic covers, and I do have a few of those, and I don't really like most of them, but what can you do? And then I also found The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I do already own that book. So this is my first book that I have 2 copies of, and I still haven't read it, but the one that I have right now is, again, that like weird indigo cover, and I really like the Penguin Classic cover, so I found this and I decided to buy it. So this is by Oscar Wilde, and this is one of my most anticipated classics, so I think I will pick this up after I finish Pride and Prejudice, which I've been reading for like 3 months. So hopefully this is either an easier read or a more enjoyable read. And lastly, I have this book that I've already read, which is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And I really, really liked this book, so if you haven't read it, definitely go read it. But I didn't buy it because I don't buy most of my books just because I don't know if I'm gonna like them. So I usually actually buy books that I've already read, but I'm trying to get better with that and buy books that I haven't read but I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy. But again, this is one that I have already read and I really enjoyed, and I hope to reread sometime this year or early next year if I get to it. So yeah, that's from that trip. And then my most recent trip, which was I think this Saturday, I got 2 books from the same thrift store I got Jade City from, the first one. I got Some Girls Do by Jennifer Dugan or Duggan, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. And I've seen this in Indigo, and I think I've seen a few reviews for it, and people said it was good, and it sounded intriguing. Again, it's a romance, and I guess it's a romance girly summer for me, because I've been reading a few romances recently. And then secondly, I got This Is Where It Ends, and I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, so I'm not going to do that just for respect, because it will not go well for me. But I read this last year, actually around this time, when I'm filming this, it's kind of mid-July, and I think I read this like beginning of August. Oh wait, maybe it was 2 years ago. I think I read this 2 years ago actually, but this was really, really good, and I would definitely recommend this. It's about a school shooting, so if you're not like into that concept, then maybe skip this one, but it was really good, and I would definitely recommend it if you're up for the material. So yeah, and most of these were between $2 and $3, so it's pretty good. And yeah, that is my 9-book book haul. So very cute. Oops, it's kind of falling over. So that's the book haul. And I actually am going to be ordering Reckless off of Amazon, but that isn't here yet. So I have also bought Reckless, put the cover here, and that is the second one in the Powerless trilogy. And I read Powerless earlier this year, and I did enjoy it. I gave it a 4.25, I think, or maybe a 4. It wasn't like the most amazing book, but it was pretty hyped up, so I'm not too mad at myself giving it a 4, because usually when books are like really, really hyped up, then they end up kind of falling flat a little bit, and then I give them probably a bit of a lower rating than I would have if they weren't super hyped. So I'm very excited for Reckless because people haven't really read it yet, so I don't know the general consensus. So hopefully I enjoy that as well. But yeah, that is the only book that I'm buying new from this haul. So yeah, that's my haul. So this is an overview of my shelves. I have a lot of books. Those are my book haul books. There's 9. So, you know, I've been a little bit busy spending some money. So this is my first shelf. Just has 3 shelves. It's wide, I don't know. But right now I have it organized by genre. So these are all fantasy. Those are my classics. This is like contemporary and romance, except for that shelf. That's like literary, I guess, and that's mystery right there. Then those are just random ones, but I kind of grouped them by authors over there. And then down here is a few like kind of more children's books, I guess, and then those are dystopian. Those are dystopian as well. This is my kind of series bookshelf, so that's where my Percy Jackson books are, like any in that world. And then we have my Grishaverse, and then Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Cruel Prince series, and then all my Harry Potter books up there. They're all secondhand. I didn't buy any of them new. And then those are all my library books. I like to put them there so I actually remember they exist. And then those are notebooks, and those are just random books. So I'm going to try and go through these and see if I can move some of them, because I'm going to need new shelves soon anyway. Like empty shelves, not at home bookshelf. I don't have room for that. Yeah, let's get started in taking all the books off my shelves, even these ones. Okay, so I managed to cut back on my notebooks. So these are all notebooks right here. I took off ones that I had filled or just wanted to go in my memory book. And then I took out some of the books that went in here because I either no longer need them here or I just want them to be somewhere else. And then I moved my library books down to this shelf. So now I have 4 shelves on this bookcase. So that's a win, I think. So I will probably make an extra shelf, and I'm not really sure what I want to put on it. Maybe like some fantasy series that I really like, or a highlight shelf or something. So let's get started with all of these and figuring out where to put them. So I have finished my shelf reorganization. As you can see, it's behind me. It looks different. So yeah, let me just quickly go through the books that I'm getting rid of. I just have to quickly grab the other ones, and then I will get back to you with the books I'm getting rid of, and then we will do a full shelf tour. Please ignore that it looks a bit messy over there. That's the remnants of the bookshelf clean. But I am going to be getting rid of the Eagle Huntress. I did really enjoy this, but I'm going to see if my sister wants it, and if she doesn't, I'll probably just put it, well, I kind of have a little mini space on the end of one of my shelves, so I might put it in there, or I'll just put it somewhere. Maybe I'll donate it, I'm not sure, but I would like to maybe read it one more time and then donate it. So that's the first one. Then this, again, I'm just giving this back to my mom. And then I'm getting rid of It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I'm probably just going to shove this in my basement because I did write in it, but I didn't really enjoy it, and I don't like Colleen Hoover. I mean, I knew I wouldn't really like this when I got it, but I got it from a thrift store, so it wasn't too much of a loss for me. And then I am going to be getting rid of the first 4 books in the City of Bones series. I've just decided that I'm honestly never going to read these, and though I do still want to try Cassandra Clare, I'm probably going to start with some of her other, like, more well-loved series. I did keep Lady Midnight, so I might try The Dark Artifices. Or I've heard good things about the Chain of Gold, I think is the first one, the Chain of Gold series. So I'm going to try those. But I'll probably just kind of Google what I need to know before starting those. Because honestly, the first one, when I read it a few years ago, was pretty boring and I didn't really like it. So I don't really need to read all of these. And I did thrift all of those, so again, probably like $10 lost from that, which is not terrible. Maybe I'll see if my sister wants to read them, but again, they were kind of bad, so I don't know. And then I'm also getting rid of the first 3 Darkest Minds books. I read the first one and I did like it, but I'm honestly never going to continue this series after. I did like her other book, Lore, but I will never read these, and I obviously don't have the last one, so yeah. So I'm not going to ever read those, so I will be getting rid of them because I don't need them on my shelves if I'm not going to read them. Okay, time for the bookshelf tour. So starting at the top of my first shelf, I added all my trinkets back on. So it's a little owl snow globe. I'm not sure where I got it. It is apparently not a toy, but I have the first 2 books in the Red Queen series. I always consider buying the other ones, but they never have them in hardback, so I probably just won't end up buying those because, again, I read those like a while ago and I did enjoy them. So I'm kind of just keeping these until my sister's old enough to read them, and then I'll give them to her. And then we have Divine Rivals, and I did enjoy this, but I probably won't get the second one just because I don't like to buy a lot of books because they're pretty expensive. But if I ever saw it in a thrift store, I would definitely buy the second one. Then we have A Tempest of Tea, which I'm currently reading, but I did put it back on my shelf as a placeholder so we know where it's supposed to go. I'm enjoying this so far, but I am only on chapter like 10. Then we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I enjoyed this. I've talked about this already. This space right here is for the second book, which I've already ordered, so I know it's going there and I need to leave a space for it. Then we have Fiery Hounds Her by Rosie Thor. I got this for my birthday. It was decent. It wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't amazing. But I did write in this, so I'm not going to be giving it away. Maybe at some other point in the future. And then we have my 2 box sets, which I still have in their boxes because it's convenient. We have the Renegades trilogy, which I really enjoyed, and the Cruel Prince trilogy, which I loved. So these are my fantasy trilogies that I have. This one's a little bit dystopian. Oh, sorry, my knee cracked. I think I have problems. Then we have Jade City, Caraval. These both I haven't read. Iron Widow, I did enjoy it, and I'm waiting for the second book to come out. It's been delayed for a while now, so just waiting for that. Then we have Babel, which I really enjoyed. Night Circus, I haven't read. Good Girl's Guide to Murder, you already know. I love those. Silent Patient, haven't read. One of Us is Lying, I haven't read. So this is my fantasy and a bit of mystery shelf, and most of it is YA. So down here we have kind of some literaries, contemporaries, historical fiction, random, and my poetry books and classics. So here we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I haven't read. These two I obviously haven't read. Then we have Girl in Pieces, which I read and I enjoyed. This I read, liked it. Every Last Word I haven't read. All the Bright Places I haven't read. Song of Achilles I read and I loved it. Haven't read, liked. I have read this. It was pretty good. It's obviously pretty short, but I did get this from my aunt randomly, so nice. I haven't read this. Read this like a really long time ago, and I did like it then, but I haven't reread it since. I'd still say it's pretty good. This I read, I liked it. This one I read, it was okay. I haven't read this. These two were both okay. This one was better. Then these are just poetry. I haven't read these two, but I did read this a lot when I was little. Then all of my classics I haven't read. I am currently reading Pride and Prejudice, but I'm not done, and it's okay so far. It's just kind of like thick in the wording, so it's taken me a while to get through. And I do have this little soapstone beaver on the top. I'm not sure where I got this, and I forgot to say that I have this little frog on top of my fantasy series. I think it really matches with the Fae, so I just put that there. And then down here I have my little trio of ceramic cats. Whenever I see one at the thrift store and it's not like really ugly, I try and buy it. This one is from Mexico though. My friend got it for me when she visited like 3 years ago. And then this is just a little jewelry tray. These two I read and I liked them. I read them when I was kind of younger, so it's been a bit for both of those. Anne of Green Gables I read when I was in like 4th grade and I liked them all, and I do want to reread these either in August or the fall. Then we have To All the Boys I've Loved Before, the trilogy. I kind of liked the first one, but I'm going to reread it, and then if I don't really like it, I'll probably just get rid of this because, again, I thrifted these, so it's not too much lost. Then we have these two I obviously haven't read. Red, White, and Royal Blue I have read, and I did like it. Then we have The Program at the bottom here, just because it's a little extra dystopian book, and I haven't read that yet. And we have these two, which are the second and third books in both the Divergent and Hunger Games trilogies. And then the first books are here because I have them in softcover. But if I find either of them in hardcover at the thrift store, I will get those and then donate these two. So I'm on the hunt. But I did enjoy the Hunger Games trilogy and Divergent trilogy when I read them, but I have since reread the first Divergent and it wasn't great, so I just have them because, you know, they were kind of some key series when I was in middle school. And then we have these two, and obviously the Hunger Games. I still think I would like them probably a bit more than when I did read them because I didn't really get it when I was in middle school, but I think I like them more now. Then we have Lady Midnight. I already talked about this in my unhaul, so I'm keeping this just because I want to try some of our other series that isn't City of Bones. And then we have first two in the Ugliest series by Scott Westerfeld. I really liked this series. And then we have book 2 of the Imposters series, also by him, and I liked this series a lot as well. Probably this one more than this one, but I would definitely recommend those. And then I have this little turtle that I got from the store up there. So that's the first bookshelf. Let's go to the second one. Here we have all my Harry Potter books. I put the Random Quidditch Through the Ages on the end, then the series, Cursed Child, and the first 2 screenplays for Fantastic Beasts, and then I just put my Torture Poets CD there because I didn't have anywhere else to put it. And then I have like a giant book of all the characters in the series, and I just put that underneath because I didn't have any room for it. And then I do have this little Thestral thing, so I just keep that there because obviously that's from Harry Potter, but he does like to fall over, so. And then we have my Grishaverse books. I have All the Shadow and Bones, Six of Crows, King of Scars, and I put this one facing out because I like that cover, and you can kind of see the tabs at the side. I do have tabs in this one as well, but whatever. And then I have this little hand, which I got from the dollar store, and I think it really fits with the series, so I just keep it there. And then I have that little thing, which I just kind of use for whichever shelf doesn't have enough room for another book or isn't going to get another book. but I need something to hold it so it stays tightly, so that's there. And then here is my Rick Riordan shelf. I have the whole Percy Jackson series, both of them stacked here, which almost touches the top. And then we have this Chalice of the Gods, which just came out. Then we have Sun and the Star, and then these three, which are the first two in Kane Chronicles and first of Magnus Chase. I probably won't continue trying to buy these series unless I see them at the thrift store, but I never really do anymore, so it's my little collection. And then we have these two. I'll probably buy the rest of that series, and then that's kind of it for Percy. I still haven't read this actually, or this, but everything else I've read. And then down here is all my Heartstoppers and all the rest of my Alice Oseman books. I read all of these except Radio Silence, but I'm hoping to get to that this month. And then down here, my library books and my little bell that I use to hold them up. And down there is all my random books, my notebook, and this little dude that I got from Amazon, and I really like him. He's a fun time. So yeah, that's my second bookshelf. Hello everyone, and welcome to the mid-year book tag section of this video. So if you don't know, a mid-year book tag is just a way to check in on your reading so far in the year and like how well you're doing with your reading goals, and just kind of summarizing the best and worst books of the first half of the year. So by the end of June, I had read 74 books, I believe. So we have a lot to recap. I'll put my stats on the screen like here from Storygraph, which I update every month just so I can get some stats. But I have my books written down here, and let's just start. I did edit the tag a little bit, like what questions to include, because I didn't have answers to some of them, or they didn't apply to my reading. So let's just start with the best book so far, and that honor has to go to As Good as Dead and The Queen of Nothing. I can't decide between the two. I loved both of them. They are both the last book in trilogies. As Good as Dead is the last book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and The Queen of Nothing is the last book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. And I love both of those trilogies, so those are my two favorite books. Moving on to question 2, the best sequel. So I have a few books on here because I couldn't decide, but one of those is obviously The Wicked King. I just picked book 2 in series, by the way, series or duologies. I did have to mention The Wicked King, which is the second book in the Cruel Prince, because I did really like those. But I also put down Nightbane here, which is the second book in the Lightlark trilogy. And this wasn't like a 5-star read for me, but I just didn't really like Lightlark that much. I gave it 2 stars. The writing felt rushed and the pacing was off, and I didn't really like the characters or story. But I did pick up Nightbane from my library. When I saw it, I was like, what, you know what, whatever, I'll read the second book. And this one I actually gave 4 stars, and I liked the plot and the characters a lot more. And I think the writing and plot still wasn't like amazing, but what actually got me this time was I was actually into the story and into the characters, and I was actually having a fun time, whereas with Lightlark, I wasn't really enjoying the book too much. So if you picked up Lightlark and didn't really like it, I would say give Nightbane a try. And you might still not like it, but I actually did like Nightbane. And then the last book I have on here is All the Tides of Fate by Adeline Grace. And this is the second in a duology, and I think the first one's called All the Stars and Teeth. But I did randomly say those two at the library, and I picked them up, and I really liked both of them. So I would definitely recommend her other books. I liked Belladonna as well, but I didn't read that this year. I read that last year. And then now for some new releases that you haven't read yet. So I haven't read a lot of new releases, but I couldn't remember most of them. So the one I have written down here is House of Flame and Shadow, which is the third Crescent City book. Because I actually didn't start the Crescent City series until this year. I read the first book, I think, in May or June. I think it was June, actually. And I really liked the first one. I gave it a 4.5 stars, and the second one, I gave it 4 stars. It was a little bit a little bit more boring than the second one, but I obviously haven't read the third one yet. But I do hope to get to that next month, in August or later this month. So yeah, that is a new release I haven't read yet. And then I have a lot of answers for question 4, which is the most anticipated reads for the second half of the year. There are a lot of books coming out in the second half of the year, and this isn't even all of them that I want to get to, but these are just a few, so I will list them out. The first one I have had on my yearly anticipated read since the beginning of the year, and that is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. I added Nothing Like the Movies, which is the second to Better Than the Movies, which I read this year and I really enjoyed. And then I also have The Lion Women of Tehran, which is coming out soon, I believe. And I came across that one on a Goodreads list and it sounded really interesting. So that is now on my high up anticipated reads for the second half. And then we also have The Phoenix Keeper, which I also found on a Goodreads list, and that one sounds really cool. And then we also have The Third Gilmore Girl, which is a memoir, I think, by the woman who played Emily Gilmore in Gilmore Girls, which I actually started watching this year. I think I started watching it in May or June, and I haven't watched it before, and I am really enjoying it. So that is now on my list to check out. Okay, question 5, my biggest disappointment. I also have a few for this one, but let's start with the 2 books that were on my 24 in 2024 that I didn't really like. So first we have The Ones We're Meant to Find. I gave this a 3-star. It was pretty boring, and the only redeeming feature was the end, but honestly, it's not really worth it. So if you were going to pick that up, I would not recommend it. And I'm pretty sure this was on my 24 in 2024, but I'm not 100% sure. And that is Song of the Six Realms. I gave this a 3.5, so it wasn't terrible. I did like the atmosphere and the world building and the writing, but the actual plot wasn't very much. There wasn't really a plot, or it was just boring and I didn't really know what was happening really. But the atmosphere was really great, so take with that what you will. And then the last 3 are just random books that I had been wanting to read and then I didn't really end up liking them. So that is Lessons in Chemistry. I thought I would really enjoy this, but I actually didn't like it that much. And then we have Wilder Girls, which I've wanted to read for literally ever. I kept seeing it in bookstores and everywhere, and I just never ended up reading it. But then I finally got it out from the library one day and I read it, and it honestly wasn't that great. I mean, I never really heard good or bad reviews about it, so it was my own anticipation, but it didn't end up being amazing. And then question 6 is biggest surprise. So I have a few here, but I'll do 2 that were on my 24 and 2024, which I kind of thought were going to be around 4 stars, maybe 3.75, and that is The 7-Year Slip, which is a romance book, and I don't generally read romance books, so it was definitely a surprise to me that I liked this as much as I did. I gave it a 4.25 or a 4.5, I think. But I really, really liked The 7-Year Slip, so if you've been seeing it places, then I would recommend checking it out. And the other book is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I keep forgetting to say the authors, but just ignore that. I think I'll put the book covers on the screen anyway, so yeah. But I really liked Serpent and the Wings of Night. It was a little bit reminiscent of ACOTAR, and I kind of guessed the plot twist, but it was a really fun time, and I liked the characters, and I liked the romance, and I liked the the trials and stuff. They felt very original, not repeated what happened. I haven't seen most of those before in books. And then we have a few random ones. So Better Than the Movies, which I said was a surprise, that I gave it a 4.75 because I don't generally like romance books, which I've already said. But this one was really cute and I liked the romance and I thought it was a very fun time. And then we have When Women Were Dragons, Ladies' Hand Circle of Women, and Cold Girls, which are all kind of just random books that I picked up from the library, but I ended up giving them 5 stars. So those were some surprises as well. And then question 7, my new favorite authors. So I have 2. I have Lynn Painter, which is the author of Better Than the Movies, which I really liked. And then Holly Black, because I read 4 of her books this year, and I really liked all of them. So those are on the list. And then we have question 8, new fictional crush. I put down Carden for this one because you gotta love Carden. He's a fun time. And then we have new fave characters. So I put down Jude, obviously, love Jude. And I also put down Hypaxia from Crescent City. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce her name, but that's how I pronounce her name. And I really like her. So those are some of my new favorite characters. And then we also have question 10, books to read before the end of the year. And these are all on my shelves. So I'll just quickly pull them off and then I'll tell you which ones they are. Okay, so here they are, and I also do want to read a few classics by the end of the year, but I don't have any specific ones. Probably like The Picture of Dorian Gray and Jane Eyre. Those are the 2 that I kind of wanted to get to after Pride and Prejudice. So those are also on the list, but let's just quickly go through these. So we have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I've been anticipating this for a long time, but I do have to read this soon and then finish the trilogy and then start Once Upon a Broken Heart, because those are my more anticipated books in this world. So Caraval is on my list. And then we have A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faizal. I got this for my birthday. And the synopsis sounds really interesting. I'm actually 10 chapters into this, but I did start it this month, so I hadn't started it by the end of June, so that's why it's on this list. And then we have the King of Scars duology, which is King of Scars and Rule of Wolves, and these are both by Leigh Bardugo. And I've been meaning to read these since I finished Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom last year, but I just never get into them because I just don't want to be finished with the Grishaverse or like done with the world that these are all in, like Shadow and Bone trilogy, Six of Crows duology, and this duology. And the last one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. I've been hearing about this for so long, and I got this for my birthday last year, and I've been meaning to read it since I started it, but I just like didn't keep reading it for some reason. So I do want to finish this by the end of the year. So that's my stack of books to read by the end of the year. Let's do a little look. And obviously there's a bunch of books that I want to read that I don't own, like Reckless. I also want to read Reckless, and I want to read all the anticipated releases that I talked about and a bunch more. And obviously I have the rest of my 24 and 2024, but these are just the ones that I wanted to mention because I had physical copies. So that is the end of my mid-year book tag. I hope you enjoyed, and let's get on to the outro of this video because it's probably very long at this point. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you liked seeing my bookshelf reorganizations, little book haul, and also a bookshelf tour. Let me know if you liked seeing book videos because I was considering maybe doing little wrap-ups if you guys wanted to see that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment if you'd like to. And I'll see you on Wednesday with my weekly vlog. Bye!